You have been working out for months, cutting calories, doing everything right, and your belly fat is still there. What if the problem was never your effort, but one silent mistake your body keeps making every single day without you even knowing it? Meet Daniel. He is 38 years old, works a desk job, and has been fighting his belly fat for almost 2 years straight. Every single morning, Daniel wakes up at 5:30, laces up his sneakers, and goes for a run. He counts every calorie he puts into his body. He skips dessert at dinner. He drinks his water. He does everything the internet tells him to do. And yet, every time Daniel looks in the mirror, the same stubborn layer of fat is sitting right there around his waist, completely unmoved, almost mocking him. Sound familiar? Because Daniel is not alone. Millions of people around the world are living this exact same story right now. They are putting in real effort, real sacrifice, real discipline, and they're getting almost nothing back in return. And here is the painful part. Most of them will never find out why. They will keep blaming themselves. They will keep thinking they are just not trying hard enough. They will keep downloading new workout plans, buying new supplements, cutting out more and more food groups, running longer distances, and still, that belly fat will not move. But here's what nobody is telling you. The reason your belly fat is not going away has almost nothing to do with how hard you are working. It has everything to do with what is happening inside your body on a hormonal and biological level that most people have absolutely no idea about. Let's start with the first reason, and it is one that is going to completely change the way you think about fat loss. Your body has a stress hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is produced by your adrenal glands, and its original job was to help your ancient ancestors survive dangerous situations. When a predator was chasing them, cortisol would flood their system, giving them a surge of energy to either fight or run. The moment the danger passed, cortisol levels would drop, the body would relax, and everything would go back to normal. But here is the problem with modern life. Your body cannot tell the difference between being chased by a predator and being stressed about a work deadline, a difficult relationship, a pile of unpaid bills, or even the pressure trying to lose weight. Every single stressor in your life triggers that same cortisol response. And when cortisol stays elevated for long periods of time, something very specific and very damaging happens. Your body starts storing fat, not just anywhere, specifically around your abdomen. Scientists have discovered that fat cells in the belly region have a much higher concentration of cortisol receptors than fat cells in any other part of the body. This means that when your cortisol levels are chronically elevated, your belly becomes the primary target for fat storage. So here's the brutal irony that Daniel and millions of people like him never realize. The stress of obsessively trying to lose belly fat is actually causing the body to produce more cortisol, which is directly instructing the belly to hold on to more fat. The harder you stress about it, the worse it gets. The cycle feeds itself, and most people never even know is happening. Now, let's talk about something that goes even deeper. Inside your body right now, there's a hormone called insulin. Insulin is produced by your pancreas, and its job is to take the sugar from the food you eat and deliver it into your cells to be used as energy. When this system works properly, everything runs smoothly. You eat, your insulin rises, the sugar gets delivered, insulin drops back down, and your body can then access stored fat for energy between meals. But when you eat too frequently, when you constantly snack throughout the day, or when your diet is high in processed carbohydrates and added sugars, your insulin levels stay elevated almost around the clock. And here is the critical thing you need to understand. When insulin is high, your body physically cannot burn fat. It is biologically impossible. Insulin is essentially a lock on your fat stores. As long as that lock is engaged, the fat is not going anywhere. It does not matter how many miles you run. It does not matter how many crunches you do. If your insulin is chronically elevated, your body will burn through the food you just ate for energy and then stop. It will not touch the fat around your belly. And the worst part is that most people who are struggling with belly fat are living in a state of chronically elevated insulin without ever knowing it, because they have been told that small, frequent meals are healthy, that snacking keeps your metabolism up, and that low-fat processed foods are a safe choice. All of these beliefs are actively working against fat loss. Here is another piece of the puzzle that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most underestimated factor of all: sleep. When you sleep, your body goes through a series of incredibly powerful biological processes. Growth hormone is released, muscle tissue is repaired, inflammation is reduced, and most importantly for fat loss, your hunger hormones are regulated. There are two hormones you need to know about here. The first one is called ghrelin, and it is the hormone that makes you feel hungry. The second one is called leptin, and it is the hormone that tells your brain you are full and satisfied. When you sleep less than 7 hours per night, something alarming happens. Your ghrelin levels shoot up and your leptin levels drop. This means you wake up hungrier than usual, you feel less satisfied after eating, and your brain starts intensely craving high-calorie, high-sugar, high-fat foods. Studies conducted at the University of Chicago found that people who slept only 5.5 hours per night lost 55% less body fat compared to people who slept 8.5 hours, even when both groups were eating the exact same diet and doing the exact same exercise. 55% less fat loss simply from sleeping less. Think about that for a moment. Daniel runs every morning at 5:30. To do that, he has to wake up early. And because life does not stop in the evenings, he often goes to bed late. He is consistently sleeping around 5 to 6 hours a night, thinking he is being disciplined, thinking the early morning run is the key to his results. But that sleep deprivation is quietly destroying his fat loss from the inside out, and he has no idea. Now let us talk about something that will completely reframe how you think about exercise and belly fat. Most people believe that the more they exercise, the more fat they will burn. And on the surface, that makes sense. You burn calories when you exercise, so more exercise means more calories burned, which means more fat lost. Right? Wrong. Or at least not always. Here is what actually happens when you exercise too much without giving your body enough time to recover. Your cortisol levels stay elevated for longer periods of time. Your body enters a state that researchers call overtraining syndrome, where the stress of constant exercise actually starts breaking down muscle tissue instead of building it. And muscle tissue is one of the most metabolically active tissues in your body. The more muscle you have, the more calories your body burns at rest, even while you're sitting, even while you're sleeping. When you lose muscle because you're overtraining and under-recovering, your resting metabolism drops. Your body becomes less efficient at burning calories throughout the day. And once again, cortisol rises, insulin sensitivity decreases, and your belly fat becomes even more stubborn than it was before. The irony is devastating. The person who exercises the least but sleeps well, manages stress effectively, and eats in a way that keeps their insulin levels balanced will almost always lose more belly fat than the person who is grinding through 2-hour workouts every single day on 5 hours of sleep. Let's now talk about the role of the gut. Inside your digestive system right now, there are trillions of bacteria living in a complex ecosystem called the gut microbiome. These bacteria play a role in almost every function in your body, including how efficiently you extract calories from food, how well your immune system works, how your mood is regulated, and critically, how your body manages fat storage. Research published in the journal Nature found that people who struggle with obesity and stubborn belly fat tend to have a significantly less diverse gut microbiome than people who are lean and metabolically healthy. Certain strains of bacteria in the gut actually produce compounds that promote fat storage and inflammation, while other strains produce compounds that support fat burning and metabolic health. When a balance of these bacteria is disrupted by a diet high in processed foods, frequent antibiotic use, chronic stress, or poor sleep, the bad bacteria take over and the good bacteria decline. This state is called gut dysbiosis, and it creates a cascade of effects that directly make belly fat more difficult to lose. Your body becomes more inflamed. Your insulin sensitivity decreases. Your hunger hormones become dysregulated. And the signals that should be telling your body to release and burn stored fat get suppressed. This is why two people can eat the exact same diet and do the exact same exercise and get completely different results. The state of their gut microbiome is one of the most significant hidden variables in the entire fat loss equation. And finally, let's talk about something that ties all of these pieces together: chronic low-grade inflammation. When your body is in a state of chronic inflammation, and millions of people are walking around in this state without knowing it, your fat cells behave differently. Inflammation causes fat cells, especially the ones deep in your abdomen known as visceral fat cells, to become resistant to the hormonal signals that would normally trigger fat release. Think of it like a door that should open to let the fat out, but inflammation has essentially jammed the lock. Your body is producing all the right signals. Your brain is sending the right messages. But the fat cells are not listening. They're locked shut. Visceral fat, the deep belly fat that surrounds your organs, is particularly dangerous because it is not just sitting there passively. It is metabolically active. It produces its own inflammatory compounds, its own hormones, and its own signals that further disrupt your metabolism. The more visceral fat you carry, the more inflammation your body produces, the more insulin-resistant your cells become, and the harder it becomes to lose the fat. It is a self-reinforcing cycle that gets worse over time if the root causes are never addressed. Daniel eventually figured out, not by working harder, not by running more miles or eating fewer calories. He fixed his sleep, managed his stress, gave his body longer gaps between meals, and stopped overtraining. Slowly, for the first time in 2 years, the belly fat started moving. Not because he tried harder, because he finally understood what was actually holding it in place. Your body is not broken. Change the signals and everything changes. If this video opened your eyes, do one thing right now. Hit that subscribe button. Every week we break down the real science behind how your body works, what is keeping you stuck, and what actually moves the needle. No mess, no fluff, just the truth. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and let us keep going together.